Good evening, everyone. Welcome in to Vol Society Live on this Wednesday night. No, I'm sorry. No, it's Tuesday night. I forgot. We had Halloween yesterday. My name is David Morrison. I'm the Vol Society analyst. Normally we do these on Wednesday nights, but we had to shuffle our schedule around this week. Of course, yesterday was Halloween, and two of my co-hosts have children, and they had to take their little ones trick-or-treating, which I totally understand. So we had to shuffle the schedule around tonight, but it's all good. We're here. I know everybody just got done watching the college football playoff rankings that was just announced an hour ago, and I'll go ahead and pull up where the Tennessee Volunteers have landed, and I'll go ahead and reveal the top 25 across the ticker on the bottom. And also, the chat room is open, so don't forget, you can go ahead and leave your comments on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you're watching this from. What are your thoughts? But yeah, as you see on the screen right now, the Tennessee Volunteers, number one in the college football playoff top 25. Ohio State coming in at number two. This was a bit of a surprise, but I agree with the playoff committee, and I'll talk about it in just a moment. Georgia is at number three, and the Clemson Tigers at number four. And then, if you're interested in the rest of the top 25, as I mentioned, crawling across the screen as of right now, as you see it right there. Everybody posting Vols number one, go big orange number one from everybody. So yeah, keep those coming. Shout out to Elizabeth and Brandon, Kim, Stephanie, uh, Jordan and Amanda, already checking in, giving us the reactions. Give y'all a shout out. All right, so let's go ahead and kind of talk about this. So we were kind of holding our breath, but I think we were pretty confident in knowing Tennessee was going to be number one in the college football playoff first rankings of the season. We have the number one strength of schedule or strength of resume, as they called on ESPN. Very exciting for Vol fans. Where this program has been, and now here we are, less than 2 years in the Josh Heupel era, and now number one in the college football playoffs. Still got a long way to go, and of course, we got a huge game coming up on Saturday, and we're going to break it down pretty soon. But this is just exciting for Vol fans. I'm happy for Vol Nation, happy for Josh Heupel, happy for this team. They have worked so hard to get to this point right here. But like I said, here we go into November. Big game coming up between the hedges, and should be smooth sailing. I'll read some of y'all's comments. A woohoo from Amanda. Greg saying Vols are number one. Kim said go big orange. John, number one, baby. Elizabeth Vols with the heart emojis. Timothy, easy for me to say. Strategically speaking, there's no way they couldn't put Tennessee number one. Go Vols. Joe, go Vols from the left coast. Timothy, go big orange. And Rick with the orange emojis. Yeah, I agree. Like I said, the resume, 5 teams Tennessee has defeated that was ranked in the top 25. You look at LSU at number 10 a few weeks ago when we played them. They were at that time number 25, dropped out of the top 25, but then they've crawled their way back to number 10, and they get to take on Alabama. Like I said, we should have. I'm reading a comment here. Should have been number one a couple weeks ago, and that's a good argument too. I think everybody's just still looking at the AP poll with Georgia and stuff. Gave with the go big orange, but you look at the Alabama game. We defeat them at our place, number 3 in the nation at that time. Now they have dropped all the way to number 6. And they got, like I said, they got a big game down in Baton Rouge. So should be very interesting to see how the rest of that team goes. But like I said, for Tennessee, starts with Georgia on Saturday. The College Football Playoff Committee put them at number 3. I was a little surprised. Georgia's number 1 in the AP poll. We're number 2. They're number 1 in the coaches poll. We're number 3 in the coaches poll. But the playoff committee put them at number 3. I'm a little surprised they considered them putting at number 3, but in all reality, it does kind of make sense. They struggled with Kent State the day we played Florida. And I remember when all of us were at the game, we saw on the ticker like Kent State was kind of hanging in there with them. I'm like, man, what's going on? And I know Kent State runs a similar offense that we do, but it was just kind of a little surprising to see that. And then the next week they struggled with Missouri on the road. Now Missouri's playing a little bit harder now, but they had to come back from being down at Missouri and pick up a win. And you look at Tennessee where they've been behind. I guess if you want to be nitpicky, you can probably say the Pittsburgh game, since Pitt's now 4-4, and we had to go to overtime and beat them. But at the time, they were ranked. But like I said, Tennessee has like dominated LSU at their place, and then dominated Saturday against Kentucky. So I think the committee really looked at Georgia's overall body of work and just say, hey, they struggle with Kent State. They had a struggle with Missouri. They've done the rest of their schedule's fine, but Georgia also really hasn't played any ranked teams besides Oregon, which they took Oregon to the woodshed in week 1, and now Oregon has climbed their way up to number 8 now. But Georgia doesn't face any ranked teams the rest of the way. Neither do we. So it's gonna be a fun game on Saturday, and we're gonna really break it down in just a few moments. But I'll keep the ticker going here, and I'll keep this up in case you didn't get to watch it tonight. But so it's a lot of fun here. Let's see here. Go back to your comments here. Gabe says, "Go Big Orange." Michael says, "Bottom line, y'all got lucky to beat Bama. Hope these two teams meet again in the SEC. Could happen. We would love to meet y'all in Atlanta." Aaron says, "Let's go Tennessee from Georgia." All right, James Patrick, some orange and trophy emojis. Awesome. From Facebook Saturday, we're all LSU fans. I think so. I will. Part of me wants to play Alabama again in Atlanta, but I know beating Alabama twice in 1 year is a very tall task. But we'll see. I mean, I think if you're a TCU fan, you're definitely rooting for LSU because I think TCU and Michigan should have swapped spots, in my opinion. But we could talk about all that maybe on the podcast. Timothy with a high go Vols. We deserve number 1. Our founder Brad's in the chat saying go Vols. How about them Vols? Cody with a go Vols. Sandy GBO. Cody, let's go Tennessee from Alabama. All right. What are your thoughts of, obviously we're unanimously happy that Tennessee being number 1. What do y'all think? Maybe Georgia at number 3. Do you wanted that 1 versus 2 matchup in the playoff rankings, or doesn't really matter? It's still a big game on Saturday. I'm kind of in that ladder. Jimmy says, "My great grandfather played for Ohio State." That's awesome. Our family is all Vol though. Okay, that's really cool. Really cool connection there. Thank you for tuning in. Brad says this game Saturday is big. Millie, Bravo Vols, Valerie, go Vols, can't wait. Timothy, I still says Alabama is better than Georgia. Not Timothy. I agree with you there, Timothy. I think overall I think they're probably a more fluent team, but like I said, Georgia, they're undefeated as of it. Brad says Georgia almost lost to Missouri, so they should be at number 3. Yeah. This should be a fun game. I'm going to keep this up here, let y'all kind of read that for a few moments, and let's just go ahead and go back to Saturday. Valerie's saying, "My dad ran track for the Vols, means a lot." Awesome. Brad says, "We will beat Georgia more than we beat Bama." Oh, we'll see. And we got our podcast coming up on Thursday. So, all right, let's go back to Saturday. Tennessee, Kentucky, dark mode, kneeling at night, Halloween weekend. It was a nightmare for the Kentucky Wildcats. A 44-6 beatdown Tennessee gave to the Kentucky Wildcats. Hendon Hooker on the night, 19 for 25, 245 yards, 3 touchdowns. Also ran the ball 10 times for 23 yards, got a touchdown in that game. Another big-time performance for Jalen Hyatt. 5 catches, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaged 27.6 yards a catch. His longest catch was a 55-yard completion. I believe that was the touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. Looking at that was back in the first quarter in the 13:33 mark. Whenever they connect, so like I said, the Tennessee offense continues to roll on the day. 422 yards of total offense, 245 through the air, 177 on the ground. Uh, third down conversions, Tennessee was 5 for 12 on third down conversions, 4 for 4 on fourth down. Kentucky, we talk. If you've watched the game, Will Levis, number one quarterback, going to be drafted in the NFL or a top quarterback draft pick. We haven't bought the hype at Vol Society. He may have the mechanics. He may fit the NFL mold. But to me, you still got to win games. And if you're an NFL GM, I just don't know if you're going to shell out millions and millions of dollars to him. But 16 for 27, 98 yards, 3 interceptions, QBR rating of 16.4. That's not good. Now, flip the coin around. Shout out to the Tennessee defense. Tennessee defense, 130th in the nation in passing defense, giving up major yardage. Only gave up 98 yards. And kudos to our defensive coaches. Tim Banks, Willie Martinez. They moved Danico Slaughter and Brandon Turnage out to the corners because mainly due to injuries with Haddon and Warren Burrell, and Rucker's been kind of banged up. They balled out in that game. Danico Slaughter with a pick himself, and that hit he laid on that Kentucky wide receiver, which led to a Jawan Mitchell interception. Goodness gracious. I mean, Tennessee dominated all three phases of the game. Special teams, I know Chase McGrath missed an extra point thanks to a penalty, and then he shanked a field goal. But overall, Tennessee just put up a dominating performance. Go back to your comments here. Man, you're going great. Man, y'all are leaving it. Let's see here. Timothy Vols had beaten 5 ranked teams. Yep. Brad says, what a proud moment to see the Vols at number 1. We've waited so long for this. Absolutely. Kay says, Tennessee can bring a win. Go Vols. Kendall, Tennessee scores early and fast, takes the crowd out of the game. We'll be fine. Got to establish early. And you're right. It's going to be a hostile environment going down to Georgia. I know their fan base is chomping at the bits for us to get down there. It's going to be a crazy environment. Brad says, let's hear what everyone is watching from tonight. Brad's watching from Charlotte. Tennessee can put up 40 or more points. We win Saturday. Timothy says, Will Levis will get an NFL GM fired. Absolutely. I don't know. I think that did not help anything with him. And Levis' defense was all over him all night long. Yep. Dylan says, we're number 1, not number 2. Yeah. This is the college football playoff rankings. They put us at number 1. They looked at as our strength of schedule was the top in the nation, combined with the 5 ranked wins. They reward us with the number 1. So we'll like I said, the most important poll. I want to tell this to Vol fans too. The most important poll is the last poll after the SEC championship game. So like I said, this is season still. We still got 4 more games to go. We're here in November, but this is just where the college football playoff committee sees us as of this moment. So just want to kind of disclaimer that a little bit, but it's awesome to see it, obviously. Bradley says, I'm so proud to see our Tennessee Vols is the best Vols football team I can ever remember. Go Vols always. It's definitely one I remember too. Jimmy says, I think we saw where Levis was a number 7 NFL prospect. I don't know if he's a 7th rounder at this point. Awesome show last Saturday. Got to keep our heads on this Saturday from Illinois. Thank you, Troy, watching from Illinois. Steve says number 1. Mark watching us from Paris, Tennessee. Big fan of this Tennessee team. Yeah, exactly. Tennessee number yeah. Exactly the last poll from Kendall. Yeah, and Jeremy says, don't be a fair weather fan, people. We live and ride this high, but it's a ride die forever bleeding orange, yeah. You're gonna have some people kind of jump in the bandwagon, but like I said, we know our true Vol fans at the end of the day. I said, well, I've seen I've seen the good and bad, but like I said, tonight's a great night to be a Vol fan. But yeah, like I said, Kentucky is in the rear view right now. And now we move on to the Georgia Bulldogs. Game of the year in college football. 3:30 game on CBS. Georgia's 8-0. Depends on which poll you're looking at. You know, number one in the AP poll and the coaches poll, but number 3 in the college football playoff ranking. And Tennessee, number 2 in the AP media poll, number 3 in the coaches poll, but number 1 in the college football playoff. I mean, not much else you can say about this game on Saturday. I'm excited about it. It's going to be a crazy environment. You know, we've had a couple of crazy home field advantages at our place with Florida and Alabama. Both came away with Tennessee wins, and now this is the toughest road test, obviously, for Tennessee. Now, granted, this is our third road game so far this year. I mean, Pitt was a great environment early in September. LSU, I just think we caught them at that morning hour and completely shut them out. But Georgia fans between the hedges, they're going to be rough and ready. They're going to be cheering like crazy. And you know, watching the ranking show, Heather Dennis from ESPN, she says this is more of a bigger win for Georgia than it is for Tennessee. And she's they're asking her the question about why was Georgia number 3. And she's right. Like I said, Georgia doesn't face anybody else. And the winner of this game, I guess we don't really face anybody else afterwards. I know we got to go on the road to South Carolina before Vandy, but the winner of this game is going to Atlanta. Excuse me. Winner of this game is going to Atlanta and meet the SEC West champions. This is a huge game. And if you want to, hypothetically expand the college football playoff, this is a quarterfinal game right here in Athens, Georgia. I know in a few years we're going to have the college football playoff expand to 16. Well, this is, I guess you can say, an early preview of that in Athens, Georgia. Number 1, Tennessee. Number 3, Georgia. Between the hedges. Doesn't get any better than this. Hendon Hooker, right now the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. You got an explosive offense. You got an Oblitnikoff Award favorite in Jalen Hyatt, who's just putting up monster numbers as of this moment. You got a run game that's solid, I think, in the top 20 in the nation. You know, the number 1 offense in the nation against the number 1 defense in the nation for Georgia. I mean, it's the irresistible force, meaning the immovable object this Saturday. It's going to be a crazy game. Going back to your comments here. Okay, I will. Yeah, I'll go back before I get to your comments. So, we have a local artist. Brad's gonna have to tell me what his name is again. We had a local artist in our area that painted some pictures of. You probably saw on our Vols Society Facebook page of Smokey leaning, chasing an elephant up the tree, which is the final score of the Tennessee-Alabama game. We have those available in the picture. Jason Wallace. Thank you, Brad. So Jason Wallace painted this cool picture of Smokey, painted in orange with the Tennessee score in it, and it has an elephant on top of a tree. It has the Alabama score. So those are available on our Vols Society Facebook page. We'll have a link posted, and we'll resend it up, relink it there. Also, that you can get that on a T-shirt too. So after the show, if you're watching on Facebook, we'll relink that. So if you're interested in that, Brad says it has all the teams we beat. So okay, that's awesome. So it has Tennessee, it has Florida, or it has the Alabama game, the Florida game, the LSU game, Kentucky. So shout out to Jason. Really cool what he has done. So thank you, Brad. Go back to some of your more comments. Let's see here. Jeremy says Tennessee gear went up. Yeah, I definitely has went up as far as even fan base and attractions go. Let's see. Corey says so excited for Saturday. Can't get here fast enough. I mean, it's going to be a crazy week. Timothy says Heupel is the man. Absolutely. Bradley says go Vols, beat the Bulldogs. Jeremy says I'm stationed in Georgia, about 2 hours away, but can't go cause staff duty. Well, hopefully you can still catch it where you're at. Like I said, it's going to be a lot of fun. David says Tennessee's defense plays like they did last weekend. Our offense stays the same. The Volunteers have a good shot at Georgia. It's going to be interesting. I want to see what Kirby Smart dials up for this offense. Last year he kind of shut this offense down, but a year later, Tennessee's offense is 10 times better than it was last year, which is crazy to think. Uh, what does he have in store? What does Georgia's defense have in store? Can they find a way to slow down this offense? Can they make Tennessee force mistakes? Obviously, the crowd factor is going to be a part of it, but they did shut down Hendon Hooker last year and Knoxville. Can they do it again? Hopefully, as Volunteer fans, we don't want to see that, but it's something to keep an eye out on. Let's see here. Kendall says this game is going to blow the top off everything we've seen in a long time. You're definitely right. Jimmy, I'm very surprised by the 8-point spread for Georgia. It started out like a 12-point spread last week, but now it's dropped down to 8. I still think it's Georgia's a slight favorite. I mean, I guess 8 points is kind of that, but I thought that was very high because Vegas should have known, or somebody should have known where both of these programs were heading, and definitely think that was way too high. But now I think some of the bettors are kind of calling out. I can see this game being down probably a little bit more than a field goal by game day on Saturday. But yeah, it is surprising. Have you seen where Georgia has told people not to sell their tickets to Vol fans? They're scared. I have heard that. Somebody at work told me about that. And I'll give Georgia credit. You want, obviously, if it was in Knoxville, we want more orange and white in Neyland. So, yeah, I can kind of see Georgia fans want all red and black and keep the orange out. But we know Vol Nation travels very well, and they'll find a way into Sanford Stadium. Jeremy says Alabama rematch. I can see it. We'll find out what happens down in Baton Rouge. I mean, this is a huge weekend in the SEC with our game at 3:30, and then the ESPN primetime game with Alabama and LSU. I mean, those are, you can say, quarterfinal games. Let's see here. Going back down. Yeah, Jimmy says I thought maybe 3 points. Timothy says Matt Bard's the Vols #1 fan. All right. Yep. Okay. Matt says I love my Vols. So thank you for joining us, Matt. Yeah. So like I said, big game coming up. So we'll kind of break down Georgia's team. Let's see. Troy says Kirby supposedly told the Dog Nation if they have a voice after the game, they didn't yell enough. It's going to be a lot of screaming and yelling from both sides. Let's take a look at some Georgia stats. I mean, we kind of know some of the players already. Stats embedded on the year. Over 2,300 yards passing, 2,349 to be exact. 9 touchdowns on the year, 3 interceptions. Of course, he's kind of a dual threat quarterback. He's actually got 5 rushing touchdowns on the year off of 28 carries, 117 yards. So we're gonna have to really stop Stetson Bennett. I mean, he's not gonna flash you with big numbers as far as throwing for 400 yards, but he does enough to win games. I mean, that's why. That's why he's a defending national championship quarterback. And if you remember last year, Georgia's offense wasn't an explosive offense. They relied so much on defense that Bennett really didn't have to do much. But he knows how to win, so give him credit there. You look at the running backs. Uh, Edwards for Georgia, he's 71 carries, 440 yards, 7 touchdowns. Kenny McIntosh, 69 carries, 332 yards, 6 touchdowns. Milton, another one, 284 yards, 4 touchdown. Is that the same? Oh, okay. Branson Robinson. I was going to say Brian Robinson. I feel like he's been on this team 12 years, but it's Branson Robinson. Okay. The wide receivers, probably one of the best tight ends in the country. They have in Brock Bowers, 31 catches, 547 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's definitely going to be NFL ready. You got McConkey in Washington. Rosmy Jackson, Bell. I mean, they're loaded at wide receiver like we are. it's just, they don't have the explosive players down the field kind of like we do, but they know the little things to do to get down there and score. Uh, Looking at Jeremy says Bowers is a major threat. That's the guy I'm really worried about more on offense is Bowers getting open. Big, tall, tight end. Can our secondary be ready for him? And he's kind of a load to take down. Uh, he's definitely the one player I've noticed on this Georgia offense that's really big threat. Let's see here. Continuing to read on here. Yeah. Thank you, Troy. Mentioned that they did lose their star defensive end. Georgia did. Nolan Smith will not play this Saturday and the rest of the season. That's Georgia's best defensive player. That's their defensive captain. Uh, you know, big loss for Georgia, but like I said, if you're Tennessee, you need to take an advantage of that, and like I said, get those wide receivers going, get that offense going. So we will see. Brad says we will beat Georgia by double digits. I'm calling it. Okay, I can't wait. You know, I know somebody's gonna ask my score prediction, so I'm just gonna say this. Wait for the podcast to come out Thursday, and I'll give you my score prediction because I'm still going back and forth with it. Um, I will say Tennessee's got a great shot of winning. I'm still trying to gather up the numbers for it. So Jeremy's saying he's an animal as far as Brock Bowers go. Uh, hallelujah for as far as Nolan Smith goes. Jimmy says they can well win by double digits. I mean, it could happen. Like I said, it just can Hendon Hooker and this offense control the Georgia crowd and just still play their ball. Brad says, "Is this season not unreal? Man, it's so great. It's been unreal." Uh, like I said, 8-0 for the first time since '98. Like I said, our toughest test coming up on Saturday. Uh, it's just crazy that offense. Somebody left a comment earlier on Facebook, and I forgot to answer. Somebody's comparing this team to the 2019 LSU team with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I can't remember if Justin Jefferson was on that team or not, but offensively, yeah. I mean, LSU put up a lot of points. They weren't as fast as us, but Joe Burrow had, believe it or not, better numbers than Hendon Hooker at this point. And I think I was compared last week where Hendon Hooker was as far as past Heisman Trophy winners, and Burrow had like 400 yards more passing through 8 games than when Hendon Hooker did. There's some similarities to this team, but I think their style of play is a lot different. Uh, it'd be kind of cool, like a fantasy matchup, to compare this team to that 2019 LSU team. I think it'd be a shootout for the most part. Um, yeah. Let's see here. Bright says Tennessee about to show the world the mission these kids are on. Um, Mike says, how long has it been since we were ranked number one? 1998 was the last time. So it's the national championship season. So it's been almost 25 years since this has happened. And this is the first time Tennessee has been ranked, obviously, number one in the college football playoff rankings. And I think they said on ESPN, the highest we've been ranked in the playoff rankings was like 15. They didn't give a specific year, but yeah, I mean, just unreal. Like I said, what Josh Heupel has done, and remember, this team was not even ranked in the top 25. We were flirting on that outside the top 25 in week one, and then we got in, I think, the week of Pitt, and just kept climbing up the rankings every week, and the reward paid off as far as these playoff rankings go at this moment. Let's see. Uh, Jeremy says, I'm living a dream all season, my man. I'm with you. It does feel like a dream, or kind of like watching play, or you playing like NCAA football on, PlayStation or Xbox and running a dynasty mode with Tennessee. It's still surreal where we are at this moment, and even just listening to Josh Heupel, just still feeling very humbled, and not saying we're saying anything out of the ordinary. It's just a very kind of a humble approach, and where we are at this moment. And absolutely, Brad says our offense just is unreal, truly an unreal thing to see. Absolutely. Timothy says, I found it hilarious that Pruitt was praising Hooker in the Vols interview. He knows he screwed up. Thank God he did. I know. I've heard a couple of Pruitt little interviews and just his thoughts, and it's kind of humbling to hear that. But yeah, I mean, if Pruitt was still here, I mean, we may be 0-8, knowing how that operation ran. But thankfully, they pulled the plug. Uh, Good old Rocky Top from Jeremy. Speaking of good old Rocky Top, Brad mentioned this. Our podcast, Good Old Rocky Talk. I guess I'll go ahead and drop the college football top 25 banner, and boom, there we go. Our podcast, Good Old Rocky Talk, available on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon platforms. It's myself, our founder, Brad Frank, the other David Dees. Each and every week, we recap the previous week's Tennessee game and preview the upcoming game. We have a lot of fun. There's a little bit of comedy in there. Obviously, talk about Tennessee football, and like I said, a lot of fun. Like I said, this week's episode will drop on Thursday. Normally, we drop our episodes on Tuesday, but Halloween kind of threw us all in a loop this week. I'm sure if you have kids, you went trick or treating or trunk or treating on Monday, so we kind of had to shuffle our schedule around. But it's all good. It's Georgia week, and make sure you listen to it on Thursday. All right. Also, for our YouTube page, we're starting to upload every episode of Good Old Rocky Talk. So if you haven't listened yet and you're on YouTube, our episodes are being archived and updated, and you've noticed that we've kind of updated our YouTube page a little bit. So we're broadcast live on YouTube, and we may still archive our YouTube page, but we're trying to filter out some previous episodes from past season and to kick up the algorithms on YouTube. So you may see some of our Vols Society Live archive episodes pulled off of YouTube. Nothing what we did. We're just trying to make people subscribe to the YouTube page and also bring some more exclusive content to it, not just me on there like 60 times too. But you can still watch our show live on YouTube, and all of our shows for Vols Society Live will still be archived through the Facebook page. So just want to kind of clear that up, give more content to our exclusive platforms, and like I said, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Absolutely. Going back to your comments, Brad asked Pruitt, what 2 is 2? He says 5 every time. Kevin checking in. Hello. He says, yes, sir. Always wouldn't miss it. And Jeremy says, we'll do. So, yeah, absolutely. Can we watch Rocky Talk live on YouTube? Thank you. Usually we just record them the podcast, and then we will upload it usually the next day. My show is always live. This is Vol Society Live. This is the show. I mean, I give my thoughts and opinions, but this is a show for all our Vol Society viewers watching across our social media platforms. Just come out and we hang out for about an hour. Usually on Wednesday nights. We had to move to Tuesday tonight, but usually on Wednesdays we come out and hang out at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, and wherever you're watching, we hang out and we talk Tennessee football for an hour. But the podcast is just mainly Brad, myself, and David Dees, and it's your typical Tennessee football podcast. But we think we're better. Yeah. Yeah, we haven't done a live show yet. Okay, cool. Thank you, Brad. What's y'all's predictions coming up on Saturday? Do you think we'll win by thank you, Jeremy, for subscribing to the YouTube channel. Do you think we'll win on Saturday? So go ahead and give your score predictions. I'll give some more shout outs to our reactions. Shout out to David, Kevin, Jared, Tim, Matt, Tina, Dan, Sandria, and a bunch of others I miss. Michelle, Dan, Joyce, Jeremy, Kendall, Debbie, Sandy, Amber, and Christopher. Some shout outs reacting to the video tonight. Timothy going 38-28 Vols. Lee going 42-38 Vols. Jason 41-27 Tennessee. Vols all the way. Troy says Vols by 10. Brad says he's got his prediction. I got my prediction for Saturday. Let's see. But you'll have to listen to the podcast Thursday. Yeah, okay. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, I'm gonna save mine for the podcast for Thursday because I'm still trying to. Jeremy going 60-0 Tennessee. Wow. So that's from Jeremy. Jimmy says Tennessee 42-35. I'll say I'm kind of leaning to most of y'all's. I don't know if I'm putting that double digits yet. That's where I'm still debating. Vols by 50, maybe. 60 to goose egg from Jeremy. Michelle 36-24 Tennessee. And that'd be big. Whew. I mean, there's I mean that I mean that's I mean you have to say we're national championship favorites if we go in there and win. Obviously you'll be heading to Atlanta. It's gonna be great. Brad says this game's gonna be watched by millions. Yeah. I think this will definitely be the most watched college football game of the season. I know when we played Alabama, I think we ended up beating Alabama, Texas as far as ratings go. I know when Chase McGrath hit his field goal, the viewership for CBS peaked at like 17 million, which is unreal for a college football game. Which then I think was it the next day. I think Chiefs and Bills was that Sunday, and then they ended up crushing our ratings or something because it was watched like by 22 million. But yeah, it is what it is. But still, that's great for college football, and I think it's going to be another big time viewership. Brad says Brad's already got his tickets for the SEC championship game in Atlanta and his hotel book. So hopefully Brad spent his money wisely. Jeremy says people in South Africa watching the Tennessee Alabama game. That's awesome. That's international ball fans. I love it. Timothy, one question: do we get in the playoff as a one loss team, whether it be in Athens or Atlanta? Personally, I think we will go undefeated. I think so. It's gonna depend on how the rest of like Ohio State, Michigan does. I think the winner of that's going to be getting in. Clemson may be a bit of a thorn or TCU, but I think our strength of schedule will get in. I definitely see two teams getting in, and Alabama's another kind of wild horse team, and even ESPN admitted that. They said if Alabama runs the table and gets to Atlanta, they're still going to get in as a one-loss team. Bama to me is kind of the big one that I'm a little worried about, but you know, I say if we lose to Georgia and win the SEC championship, yes. If you beat Georgia and lose to Alabama, we'll be sweating on Sunday. Okay. Troy says thoughts on LSU Bama. This is a must-win for Alabama. We've seen their road struggles a little bit this season. Well, not a little bit, a lot. Struggled at Texas. They lost in Knoxville. Going down to Baton Rouge Saturday night. I have Alabama to win that game, but I can see it being another fight down there with them. I think LSU is really confident at this point. They're playing their best ball. It's going to come down to how Bryce Young does on Saturday for them. Kevin says I can't give a prediction. Vols win though. Jimmy says I think the viewership was higher for the Kentucky game than the World Series game. You might be right. I know the World Series viewership has really dropped dramatically this year compared to last year. So it wouldn't shock me. Bryce says, yep, we can. Jeremy says, Bama. Bryce says, if we go to the SEC Championship in Atlanta, how many Vol Society fans will meet up for a Vol Society hangout for the game? That would be fun. Bill says, good evening. Listen, this VFL is from Naples, Florida. Hello from Naples to Bill. Let's see. Brad says, LSU's going to fire. Jeremy says, you're rather lost in Vol Nation. Yep, absolutely. Mr. Burrows says, go big orange. Checking in. Yeah, like I said, big game on Saturday. I mean, there's not much else to say. This is, like I said, this is a pretty much a quarterfinal game. This game, LSU by Alabama, or maybe even a first round, if you want to say the SEC championship can be a quarterfinal to be exact. Definitely so. Troy says that's because there's so many people in the Vol Nation. Nobody cares about the World Series, especially when we are playing. Pretty much. I know there's a lot of Vol fans who were Braves fans last year who was kind of watching back and forth. Um, which last year more people was probably interested in World Series and Tennessee football at this point, but now it's reversed. I mean, it's still. Let's see. Living for three. Oh, okay. Thank you, Brad. John says living for 3:30 Saturday. Timothy says if a one-loss Alabama gets in the playoff, then a one-loss Tennessee would have to be in. I think so. It's going to come down to how Georgia is. It's a three-team race right now. Brad says, big surprise on podcast Thursday. Mr. B will be joining us, and he has a surprise for us, Vol fans. So, John B will be our guest on the podcast coming up on Thursday. So, make sure you're subscribed and ready to listen. And I can't wait to see what he's going to bring for us. That'd be awesome. Anything else? I guess my question is, where are y'all going to be watching the game? Is anybody going down to Athens to watch Tennessee, Georgia? If you got a ticket, I know it's the hottest ticket in town. Or are you going to watch it at home with friends and families? So see where everybody may be watching the game on Saturday. John says, good old Rocky Top. That's what I heard you may be playing. Timothy says, heck no, I didn't want to give him my money. That is true. That is true. Watching it from home. I know I'll be watching probably at my home or somebody's home. It's going. I mean, awesome. Brad says watching in Charlotte, and I cannot wait. I know Brad had a little bit of a watch party going on. Jimmy says with family at home. Timothy says their watch party in Vol Village. Weather is supposed to be great. I haven't heard if they're doing one. If we hear anything, we'll tell here on Vol Society. Let's see. Michelle says having a Vols party in Kingsport, Tennessee. Awesome. Be an awesome time up there. Brad says, give a shout out to our Vol Society fans, David. We had the best loyal fans. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Vol Society fans are the best. We eclipsed 20,000 followers on Facebook. Give y'all a round of applause. Thank you all for supporting us. We're over 1,000 on YouTube. Twitter's doing well. I forgot to look at the Twitter things. Yeah, like I said, you guys are great. You share our stuff out. Our picture of the 8-0 picture with the national championship trophy at Neyland Stadium, it got shared like crazy. I think almost 30,000 likes on that. Brad says 22,000 for our Facebook page. So thank you all very much for doing that. That really tickles us as far as Vol fans. We're kind of, like I said, Brad's in Charlotte. I'm here in the nestles of East Tennessee, along with D's in Chattanooga. So it really, we're just humble Tennessee folks, just like y'all. We have 9-to-5 jobs. This is not a career for us. It'd be cool if it would be, but we just love Tennessee football and like interacting with y'all. So thank you. Let's see here. Troy says my home cranked up in Illinois. Rather travel to Knoxville to be with my peeps. Hey, if you make the trip, that'd be awesome. Bill says Athens is this favorite VFL's favorite away SEC venue. Wish I can be there. Okay, yeah. I've been to Athens, Georgia one time. Wasn't for a football game. I had to go pick up my mom. She was doing a thing for her work. It's kind of a drive and a half to get down there, but really really cool. It's a pretty town. It's a big music town. I do know that, but don't really agree with the the teams down there. Justin says, be in Johannesburg watching with family. Awesome. Brett says, truly a brand now, and it's because of our fans. Yeah, absolutely. Troy says, thank you all for the podcast. Very new to your page, but love the content. Go Big Orange. Thank you. Thank you, Troy, for checking us out. We really appreciate that. Timothy says, the only good thing in Georgia is the Atlanta Braves. I guess, yeah. I may have to think of something else. Maybe some musical acts. I don't know. But yeah, definitely the Braves. I'm a Atlanta Braves fan, and I've got my Braves rally. Well, that's not really a rally towel, but a big Braves blanket and the championship plaque that way. I know I got Vol stuff back here. And Deez is a big Braves fan. Brad's as the Dodger fan. Let's see here. Shout out to Fonville, Ryan, Charles. I think I shout out David, but we'll shout out him again. Jimmy, Mary Hope, Kevin. Shout out to y'all. Bryce says rappers, some amazing rappers there. Outcasts, yeah. Yeah, all those dirty South rappers. Absolutely. Kevin says, funny story. I tried to bet my Alabama buddy $30 in the Kentucky game, and he wouldn't do it. But then he said he would on the Georgia game. I came in Monday, and he wouldn't do it. He said Tennessee's playing on a different level. Priceless. That's funny. Kinda didn't want to. He didn't want to take the money. Shell says she's a Braves fan too. That's awesome. Braves Nation also can be Vol fans. I guess that's our only connection to Georgia. That's how did you celebrate the Kentucky win? It was definitely a lot more calmer than the Alabama win, but it was exciting to see Tennessee pull out that win. I mean, it was just a good dominating performance, and just happy for the defense. How they played. Very happy for Danico Sargent Slaughter. Happy for Brandon Turnage, Jawan Mitchell, that entire defense that's played some very tough offenses and a lot of injuries, especially on the defensive side and the secondary. But to have a great day, and also obviously happy for the offense and Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt, and happy to see Cedric Tillman back, Jalen McCullough coming back also. So just happy as far as the team effort goes. Timothy says, I personally think the Tennessee defense is peaking at the perfect time. Yeah, it's really about time. I know. I think Coach Heupel mentioned. I don't know if he mentioned in his press conference already, but I know last week he mentioned about his secondary. He's going to get some guys healthy and should be able to play on Saturday. So we'll see how actually mentioned it after the game Saturday. So he'll see how the starting lineup looks. Personally, I wouldn't change that secondary. I would definitely keep Slaughter and Brandon Turnage on the corners, and then keep McCullough and Flowers as your safety. Tamarian McDonald as the star player. That's the five I would roll out with Georgia. But we'll see. Oh yeah, Kevin agreeing with Timothy. Bryce says the fact that we're good blows my mind. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here, Troy. Do we have anyone questionable for Saturday that you're aware of? I haven't heard yet. I haven't even checked out Coach Popel's podcast, press conference on Monday. So I'm going to check it out before I hit the hay tonight. If he said anything. Kevin says, Coach says we are the healthiest we've been all year. Okay, thank you, Kevin. We'll see. Timothy says Flyers did get burned by Kentucky tight end, though. Yeah. And that's just kind of a reoccurring occurrence for this Tennessee secondary. It's just getting blown in big chunk plays. But, didn't give up 100 yards passing, which is even better. Brad says, I heard we should be the healthiest we have been for this game. So we'll see who's all going to be playing and who Coach Heupel sends out there. I mean, obviously the starters will, but it'd be interesting to see how his rotation does, especially in the secondary. And be interesting to see how Georgia kind of lines up. I don't expect them to spread out. I expect them to kind of run their typical offense. A lot of, I guess, similar to Kentucky, a lot of running the ball. Now, granted, Kentucky's got better players. I'm sorry, Georgia's got better players than Kentucky, but I think a lot of running and a lot of going to target Brock Bowers. Brad. Okay, Pro said Brad Lefford is my good buddy. Love you, Brad. VFL. Awesome. Um, definitely so. Uh, anything else as far as predictions or key stats? Brad says, is Jalen Hyatt not the coolest dude you've ever seen? He's amazing. What he's done. You know, I mentioned this before. I remember last year or before Josh Heupel started his tenure at Tennessee. You know, you always had the preseason magazines out the first year, and we had a lot of guys that we kind of knew who they were, but didn't really know much about it. And I remember Jalen Hyatt being on that preseason cover magazine, be like, okay, is he really going to be a breakout star? I know there was a lot of question marks and didn't really have a break, had a good season, but not a great season. And now it's completely done a 180. Of course, a lot of that has to do with Tillman's injury, but he should be the Blitnikoff winner at the end of the season. I don't know if he'll be a Heisman Trophy finalist. He'll probably get some Heisman votes, but with Hooker on kind of leading the way, and we all know that except in 97, that the Heisman Trophy is a very quarterback-friendly award. Justin says Hooker told Heupel at the end of the year, let's go to Atlanta, and that's what they're going to do. I remember hearing that whenever he said he's coming back. He said, let's go to Atlanta. So it could happen. Timothy says Fant with his daughter in the end zone is the best moment so far this year. Yeah, I did see that video today. That was really sweet. Prince Fant dancing with his daughter in the end zone like that. Justin says Hyde is a beast. Absolutely. Bill says, how about our defense getting better snapped after snap? Yeah. Saturday's definitely the best they played, and I'm excited to see can they continue that in the final month of the season and get us out of that 100 as far as total defense goes, or at least pass defense. Let's see. Bill checking. He's a Georgia fan. That's okay. He says Dogs 42, Vols 31. All right. Hey, that's fine. Hey, I mean, it's going to be a great game, Bill. I mean, we're excited to play you. We're not. I mean, yeah, we're very pro orange and white, but we're excited for the matchup. And like I said, the winner's going to Atlanta, and may the best team win on Saturday. Jared says, yes, great parents too. His brother's talented as well. Connecticut, Tennessee. Yeah, his brother, one of the top wide receivers in high school football right now, leaning heavily to Tennessee. Did y'all see the 5-star wide receiver for the 2024 class from Missouri? I have not yet. Ever since the season started, Timothy saying wrong page. Well, you're gonna get you. Anyways, I've kind of checked out on recruiting since the season got started. I need to get back into it. I know we've had a couple of players, and definitely once we get towards the end of the season, I'm going to get back into it. But I haven't. I'm sure I saw him. I just hadn't really dove into the 2024 class like I did with the 2023 class. So Brad says yes. Okay, so yeah, like I said, just been kind of busy with this season. Recruiting's kind of slipped my mind. I couldn't imagine being a college football coach. You know, you got season to focus on, then you got, which I guess that's why you have a big staff. You have coaches that focus on recruiting, focus on the transfer portal, NIL. It's pretty much a company now as far as college football programs go. Very much so. For those who may or may not know, I'm sure most of y'all know, Auburn did fire their head coach, Brian Harsin, yesterday. Matter of fact, they also brought in their new AD. I think his name is John Bowen, came from Mississippi State, and then not even an hour into his job, relinquished the duties of Brian Harsin at Auburn. So uh, now Auburn is looking for a head coach. The three favorites I'm hearing right now: Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, Hugh Freeze at Liberty, and Deion Sanders at Jackson State. So, we'll see where Auburn goes as far as their head coaching jobs, but there is an SEC opening right now. I don't see Josh Heupel going anywhere from that, but definitely interesting. Let's see. Kevin says I can't think of his name, but I've seen it earlier. My whole Facebook is nothing but Vols feed. Awesome. Timothy says Deion Sanders to Auburn. Deion is kind of an interesting factor. He also says Hughes Freeze will never get another Power Five job. It could, maybe so. Deion's interesting. I haven't seen any Jackson State football games. They're not really on TV where I'm at. But just kind of seeing the interviews and the way he does his practice, he definitely has a presence, definitely has that swagger. Of course, we've seen Dion have that prime time persona for the longest time, whether with the Falcons or the Cowboys or 49ers, even playing baseball with the Braves. So I think as far as bringing that prime time persona to a program, it's worked great for Jackson State, and seems like he knows what he does with NIL and recruiting. Uh, I think a program will take a shot at Dion. As far as wins and losses go and X's and O's, I'm not real sure about. But if you want to get a program to have a presence and an identity, I think Dion's your man, and maybe Auburn goes that way. It's just the only thing is, Auburn is kind of set in their ways as far as who they want as a coach and as a program. I never thought Brian Harsin was a great fit at Auburn. Coming from Boise State, it was just fire and gasoline kind of the whole time, and like I said, it blew up in their face. But we'll see. I guess best of luck to Auburn in the future. Uh, Mentioned Hugh Freeze will never get another Power Five job. And probably right. He may be stuck at Liberty. We'll see. Bryce says, trust me, Heupel isn't going anywhere. Okay. Bill says, how many years did we see teams run through us? Coach Gardner, that D line is playing for you. Yeah. You're right. We've had some kind of mediocre D line coaches, and now we brought in Coach Gardner, one of matter of fact, the best in the nation, in my opinion. And I love the quote that he mentioned several months ago. I didn't come here to go 7-6. I come here to win championships. And yeah, we're seeing these players play their hearts out. We saw Matthew Butler, kind of a solid player at Tennessee, but probably wasn't like NFL caliber. Coach Gardner really retooled him, kind of recoached him, changed the way how he played, and now he's playing for the Las Vegas Raiders. Got drafted. I think Amari Thomas has really stepped up very well. We're seeing Byron Young and Tyler Barron having solid seasons. Dejon Terry had a huge sack on Saturday. I'm loving this Tennessee defensive line, and I love we have Rodney Garner, and I hopefully he'll stay for a while. But I know, I'm sure some of these assistant coaches are going to get some major phone calls coming up in the off season. But hopefully everybody sticks around. Justin says 23 years. I was 13 and 98 when we went 13 and 0. We were about the same age, Justin. I was 14 at that time, so we're right around that same age group. 98. And matter of fact, Brad and Dees and I, we all went to school together from kindergarten through high school, graduated, so we're all right there. Timothy says Tennessee has had the talent and roster for years. What we're seeing now is a coaching staff that executes on that. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, Tennessee hit rock bottom as far as program and standards goes. But number one, the fans never left. And number two, we see the talents there. I mean, Alvin Kamara, one of the best running backs in the NFL, and when he was at Tennessee, was barely used, but his talent was there. Marquez Callaway, Jawan Jennings, both had solid runs at Tennessee, but could have been a whole lot more. We just weren't getting up to that All-American level now that we're seeing. I definitely see Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyde as first-team All-Americans. I mean, that's great on an offense. I see a lot of even some Tennessee defensive players maybe getting in some first-team All-SEC performances. I mean, we're getting back to that All American and obviously All SEC caliber level. I mean, and this coaching staff with Josh Heupel and Alex Golesh, Tim Banks, Jerry Gray, the running back coach. I'm starting to forget names. Kelsey Pope, wide receiver coach. Willie Martinez, secondary coach. Brian G. Mary. I mean, list goes on and on and on. Even some of the names that we don't know. The guys in the different colored shirts, the quality offensive coordinators or offensive analysts or the grad assistants. I mean, we got to they're kind of the unsung heroes. The three guys that stands on the sideline, I don't know their names. I'm sure they're grad assistants that have the color shirts. I mean, they're the ones that signaling in the plays like every 2 or 3 seconds what's coming up. And of course, you got Alex Golesh and whoever else is calling the plays. And I mean, it's just a well-oiled machine what we're seeing, and it's just exciting to see. And I know this coaching staff. I mean, I think Heupel's in for the long haul, but I know a lot of these young coaches, they're about to get promoted elsewhere, and it's gonna be a little different, but I still trust in Coach Heupel. How about the turnaround that Cooper Mace has had? He went from getting pancake last year to being a stud. Yes, I mean, I think this is his third year in the program, but his second year starting. And last year went through the growing pains and went through, uh, with injury, but now having a great season. Darnell Wright's having an excellent season. Spraggins. I mean, that entire offensive line's done a great job. And even Cooper Mays, even being the center, doing great. We have been disappointed, but never left the best schools, towns, and supporters. Absolutely. I mean, you know, programs could. I mean, we've seen college football programs whose rise, and as soon as they drop, the fan bases leave. And you look at Miami. 20 years ago when Miami was at the top of college football, when they were still playing at the Orange Bowl, which, by the way, this year never tore down the Orange Bowl, but that's another discussion for another day. They had 85,000 fans there every week, and now you look them playing at Hard Rock Cafe Stadium, and they got 20,000 fans, and nobody cares about the U. But you look at Tennessee, even through the mid 20 teens, during the Dooley eras and kind of the tail end of the Butch Jones era, yeah, we dipped below that 100,000 fan mark, but we still had a good 90,000 fans there. Like I said, there's SEC stadiums that wish they had 90,000 fans that show up to their games. And Tennessee was still executing that. Their fans were still passionate. It was just we wanted that winning program. And here we are in 2022, 8-0 and number one in the college football playoff rankings. Unreal. Brad says not a better fan base than Tennessee. Absolutely. I mean, we're delusional, but we're passionate. Kevin says, like I've told people, this whole team has chip on their shoulder, improve it every game, no quit, and a lot of grit. Thank you, Bill. Yeah, it's just unreal. Unbelievable grit from Troy. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's why I love this fan. I love being a Tennessee fan. I want to see not only our football program succeed, but all of our sports succeed. And we've been blessed in the last couple of years. Since Danny Watts took over with the baseball program having great success the last couple of years, basketball program having success and looking to have a great run. The Lady Vols preseason ranked number 4, and then the football program number 1, 8-0. I mean, Danny, we've mentioned this about every week, but kudos to Danny White for looking where college athletics is going and making sure he has the right people in the right spots. And we got some great coaches, got some great personality coaches, and coaches that want to win and win championships. And, probably since the mid 2000s, since we've seen the 4 major programs peaking all at the same time. Matter of fact, I think they're peaking even better than probably in those mid 2000s, like maybe '05 when you had the baseball team going to the College World Series, and the Bruce Pearl era with Chris Lofton and Juwan Smith and Wayne Chisholm and the Lady Vols of Candace Parker and football program. So Timothy says, let's not forget that Alabama had possession for the ball almost 15 minutes longer than us during the game. If our match time of possession with our opponents, no one can beat us. and that's the crazy part about that too, Timothy. Just the way this offense clicks. Yeah, I mean, we go down there and score quick, and our defense is out there a long time, but just the confidence of where everybody plays and just the scheme of what Coach Heupel brings. It's just unreal. Bill says 2 weeks ago when we played Bama, they had a 2-hour wait to get into our alumni bar in Chicago. Oh my goodness. That's unreal. That's awesome. I mean, Vol Nation is coast to coast. It has to be excited about this season. I'm glad to. I know it's probably a little hectic too, as far as trying to get in the alumni bar, but I'm just happy for all Vol fans in general. Happy for our VFLs. With Peyton, obviously with Peyton, and the same with Al Wilson, Peerless Price. I saw Peerless Price Alabama reaction. It was really cool. We saw Josh Dobbs at the Florida game, and just happy for all nation. I think we're going to kind of wrap it up here. We went an hour and 7 minutes. You guys were fantastic tonight. Shout out to everybody. I know we peaked over 40 viewers at one time, but like I said, we should be back on our normal schedule. Hopefully, we don't have any more holidays. I mean, besides Thanksgiving, but wanted to come on here. Like I said, Tennessee number 1 in the college football playoff rankings. The first one's released tonight. Ohio State 2. Georgia, our opponent this Saturday, number 3. Clemson at 4. Like I said, it's going to be a fun game. Don't forget, Good Old Rocky Talk will drop Thursday afternoon all across our social media platforms. So make sure you're subscribed to it. If you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to our previous episodes, especially the week we played Alabama. We had Eric Ainge on that show. And definitely check that out. And like I said, thank you for being a part of the Vols Society. Thank you, Bill. We're going to wrap it up. We will have the podcast coming up on Thursday. I will have Tailgate Thursday around 3 o'clock. It's just a quick 5-minute drive through a preview of Week 10 of college football, pre-recorded. And then the game on Saturday, Tennessee, Georgia, should be a lot of fun. Brad says he's texting with Eric now. All right. Very cool. Should be a lot of fun. Enjoy the game. Let's go beat Georgia. Let's stay number 1. Let's get number 1 unanimously across the board. And let's go to Atlanta, folks. This has been Vols Society Live on this special Tuesday night. We'll catch y'all next Wednesday night for more Vols Society Live. Go Vols. Let's beat Georgia. Have a great night.